Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Living Beyond Limits and our online service. I am Reverend Jennifer Spear, and we are a part of Centers for Spiritual Living. I'm so glad that you have joined us this morning on Zoom. And for those of you who are joining us later, welcome also to our service. And so I'm going to begin this morning by reading our mission statement. And so if you know it, I invite you to join me in saying it. And if you don't, I invite you just to kind of take it in. And it goes like this. We are a sanctuary where people can discover and reveal the presence of God within their own being and experience their oneness with all life. Through the realization of this inner presence of love and peace, we give way to the evolutionary impulse of the divine and become a beneficial presence in the world. And so that's exactly what we are doing here at Living Beyond Limits, is we are giving ourselves the opportunity to remember that, yes, indeed, we are individualized expressions of that one presence, that one power that is spirit. And that spirit that expresses itself as love and as peace, as the truth of our own wholeness and our own authentic power. Because what happens is when we come to recognize that that presence is within us and that all of those qualities of spirit are within us, that then we have access to the love and the peace and our own wholeness and our own power, regardless of what the world is reflecting back to us. That means then when we find ourselves in a situation or conversation or a relationship that doesn't feel peaceful, we can tap into our own peace and bring that peace forward. It transforms what's happening. When someone is not being loving towards us, we can tap into the love within us and we can be loving, but we also can know as spiritual beings that we are loved and valuable and important. So what's going on outside of us does not affect us to such a degree because we can anchor in to our own spirit. And so as we do that, we come to the world differently and we're able to be more of a beneficial presence in this world just because we are able to come from our spirit. And so I say thank you to each and every single one of you for walking this path, for saying yes to the call of your own spirit, and for being a beneficial presence in this world. Thank you for that. And so as we begin this service this morning, our practitioner, Barbara Conant, is going to lead us in an evocation as we begin to evoke an awareness of the presence of spirit and do a contemplative reading for us. And so prior to that, we are going to hear the song by Denise Rosier. The words will be up on your screen, the song We Are. So you can sing along or you can just kind of fall back into your own beingness and find that center and just rest there and allow those words to take you deeper. And that will lead us into the evocation. And so I invite you just to turn within and to allow yourself just to settle in.
We are all one in God, and we are love. We are love. We are all the love of God. Beauty surrounds me, falling at my feet. As I hear the calling of the Holy One in me, and we are whole, we are whole, strength. We are all the strength of God. Beauty surrounds me, falling at my feet as I hear the calling of the Holy One in me. We are made, we are made, we are all made of God, and we are one, we are one, we are all one in God. We are, we are, we are, we are one in God. We are, we are one in God. We are one in God.
I am aware only of this moment, and I focus my thoughts within and become centered in my source of wisdom, of joy and love. This timeless omnipresence is all around us and present in the now, and is the real part of who we are. The omnipresence is the light of Source that adds vitality to all of our activities. It focuses its love into our emotions and feelings to give us greater compassion in our interactions with others. It focuses knowledge into our minds to give us more insight and understanding to all the situations that life presents to us. Our inner resource increases our experiences that life is eternal and is always supporting us. And we become more open to expand our thoughts and our feelings to be a joyful expression of love in our life. And with these experiences, I recognize that we are a reflection of the all good that is always with us, and we are beneficial presences in the world. I bless these words of truth in our time together to celebrate this benevolent essence and the truth of everyone. I bless Reverend Jennifer and her talk that supports us in our life to live in peace and love. I bless Living Beyond Limits and all people everywhere. And so it is. Good morning, everyone. My reading today is from 365 Days of Richer Living by Ernest Holmes and Raymond Charles Barker. The universe remains forever in perfect balance. No thought or creation of man can confuse the eternal heavens. The perfect action of intelligence maintains its creation in peace, order, and harmony. This is the true state of the world in which I live. And around me in normal activity and within me is a peace born of God. As I know this and accept this, I relax and let the infinite mind do its perfect work through me. Nothing can disturb me, for I am anchored in peace. Never again will the confused opinions of man have power over me. False speculations of the human mind no longer intrigue me or lead me into chaos. Peace is mine today, and no person or situation can confound me. And recognizing peace as my normal environment, I give peace to others. My presence in any group is calming. My speech reflects my inner peace. I speak of those things which are true of God and true of God's Spirit in man. I know that peace is natural to all people, so I seek its center in all whom I know. The healing peace of God radiates from me, and I am a blessing to my world. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you very much, Barbara.
Mm-hmm.
And so we now have a song by Karen Drucker that Ray is going to share with us.
In beauty, may I walk all day long. May I walk through the seasons. May I walk. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. On this path, may I walk through my life. May I walk in old age. May I walk. May I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. May I walk, 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 may I walk in peace. May I walk in peace. In joy, may I walk, in love, may I walk, in gratitude, may I walk, in peace, may I walk, in peace, in stillness, may I walk in forgiveness, may I walk in loving kindness, may I walk, in peace, may I walk in always walk in peace. In peace. May we walk in peace. In peace. May I walk with love and kindness. In peace. In love. May you walk in joy. In peace. In love. May we walk.
Nice. What a great song, huh? So nice. And so we have been talking for the past 7 weeks about creating greater peace within ourselves and within our lives and within the world. And things don't feel very peaceful in the world right now with the war going on in Ukraine. And I don't know about you, but because things don't feel very peaceful in the world and that war is going on, maybe things don't feel very peaceful inside of you either. I know it's hard for me not to get emotionally caught up in all that's going on, the devastation and the horror and the sadness of it all. And then in turn I feel upset and sad and heartbroken and sometimes emotionally overwhelmed. I know that all of us would much rather walk in peace. We would rather be experiencing a sense of well-being and emotional balance and peace. We would rather be living in joy and in happiness. And in fact, Ernest Holmes, the founder of this philosophy, said, God's will for every person is happiness and peace and joy. And that's really where we would like to live all of the time. But to not feel those feelings of that sadness and that devastation, the loss and whatever the feelings are that you're feeling around that, to not feel those feelings really would be to deny our humanity. It would be to deny that we are really part of this one human family. And it would deny the fact that we care. It would be like pretending that it didn't exist to not feel those feelings. But I don't think the real problem is that we feel those feelings. I think the real problem is that we name those feelings good and bad. It's like happiness and peace are good, but sadness and grief are bad. And so we somehow want to push away those feelings that we name bad. Perhaps maybe as a child, you were taught that your feelings weren't okay. Or maybe you had parents that didn't do a very good job of modeling feelings and emotions. They either didn't know how to express them and didn't, or they expressed them in a way that wasn't healthy or that was out of control. And therefore today, as adults, maybe you resist your feelings, or maybe you run from your feelings, or ignore them, or deny them. But what happens when we try to push those feelings away, when we resist them, then we do often ill coping mechanisms that don't work very well, like drink too much, or eat too much, or shop too much, or play video games too much, so that we can numb out and not have to feel those feelings. And then on top of that, as metaphysicians, as members of Centers for Spiritual Living in the science of mind and spirit, perhaps you think that you should be above those feelings. I know that I do that myself. Think that I shouldn't get caught up in feelings, that I should be able to rise above them. That I should be able to rise above feelings of anger or loss or sadness. That instead I should only feel positive feelings, uplifting feelings and emotions like happiness and joy and gratitude and confidence. Or maybe as a metaphysician, you think that what you really should do is pray those feelings away so that you don't feel them. And like I said, I do that sometimes. I resist feeling those feelings when they feel heavy. And I know during these last couple years, during COVID, I've had lots of times where things feel heavy and things feel difficult. And sometimes I will say to Colleen, I just feel like crying. And she'll say to me, then why don't you just sit down and cry? And I resist feeling those feelings. But then I do that. Sometimes I'll go sit down in my bedroom and cry. And you know what? It lasts for like 1 minute or maybe 2 minutes. And I feel so much better after I do that. Because emotions are energy in motion. They are meant to move through us, and we are meant to move through them, not to get stuck in them. But when we resist them, we get stuck in them. Because as you know, what you resist persists. It doesn't go away. And so I tell myself things sometimes like, you know, I shouldn't be frustrated over the repercussions that COVID has had on our church. I should just be above that. I should just pray and know that everything is in order and have faith and trust. Well, you know what? I do. I feel frustrated sometimes, and then I pray, but I feel those feelings. Sometimes I think I shouldn't be brokenhearted like I am and feel so sad and such a loss for those people of the Ukraine. Instead, I should only be praying, knowing that the wisdom of that divine presence is guiding and directing each and every one of them, and that love is making itself known in the hearts and in the lives of each one of them. But you know what the truth is? I'm human, and you are human. And having emotions and feelings is part of being human. Denying that we have feelings is what we call spiritual bypass. It's trying to jump over them and not feel them and just go to the spiritual truth without acknowledging that that lives within us as human beings. It's really healthier and creates a greater sense of well-being within us to actually acknowledge our feelings, to actually feel our feelings, and to be with our feelings. And after we're with them, and after we feel them, and after we move through them, then to do affirmative prayer, then to sit down and meditate to help ourselves find a deeper center within ourselves. It's not either or, it's and both. And we are human and divine. We are human beings and spiritual beings. And so I read a quote this week by, it was called Good Therapy Blog. He says, emotions by themselves are neither good nor bad. They are simply reactions. However, the way that we act or don't act on our emotions can strongly affect our well-being. Our emotions aren't good or bad. They are simply reactions. And so the title of my talk today is Creating Buoyancy. And I'm talking about two things. I'm talking about one, that in order to have a sense of well-being, in order to be at peace, in order to have balance in our lives, we need to welcome our emotions. We need to sit with our emotions and actually feel them. And it is then that we can let them be our teachers. And the second thing that I'm talking about is once we feel those feelings, listen to what they have to teach us, listen to what their message is for us, then we must do things to create greater balance in our lives. Things that create a sense of emotional well-being. Things like playing. Things like laughing with your friends. Things like doing things that enable you to experience joy. Ernest Holmes tells us, there will never be more of God, abundance, health, and happiness than is available to us today. And the only time we can experience what we desire is today. We can't do it yesterday, and tomorrow hasn't arrived. But the present moment can never provide us more joy than we are able to embody. All of the joy is already present. It's already within us, but we can only experience what we can embody. We can only experience what we create space for. So we create space for joy in our lives so that we can create greater balance in our lives. And at the same time, when we resist those emotions that have come up, they don't go away. They rise up again at a later time. But when you feel your feelings, then you move through them. And then they move through you. And so what if, when you had a very strong emotion, instead of denying it, instead of resisting it, instead of pushing it away, you actually just allowed yourself to feel it? What if you allowed yourself to sit with it? What if you gave it a voice and allowed yourself to actually express it? And I don't mean to yell at someone when you're angry. I mean to express it in a healthy way that doesn't hurt anyone else. And then, after you felt that emotion and sat with it, what if then you looked underneath it? What if you looked underneath it to discover what the belief is that's causing you to have that emotion? What if you looked underneath it to ask yourself, is there a need that needs to be met that isn't being met right now? Or what if you looked underneath it to discover if there is an old wound that needs to be healed? And this thing that is happening in your life has just triggered that old wound. And that's really what's going on, is it's time to heal that wound. So I ask myself, what is the belief that is beneath my sadness about the Ukraine? And the belief that's underneath it for me is that it's not okay for people to hurt other people. The belief underneath it is that there is a sacredness to all of life, that all of life is sacred. There is a belief that people are important. And love and unity are important to me. They are principles that I stand on and principles that guide my actions. So when I take the time to actually discover what the belief is that's underneath that, I can actually rest in that belief. And resting in that belief that I hold and hold dear actually feels comforting to me. It actually feels nurturing to me. And it actually enables me to feel more connected to the people that are experiencing war right now, instead of just to be an observer and a bystander witnessing the horror of it. But I can experience the connection and love that I have for those people. But you know what? In order to discover what the belief is, whether it's a belief that supports you or whether it's a false belief or whether it's an old wound, whatever it is, it takes time. It actually takes sitting down with it and maybe journaling about it, or talking to a practitioner about it, or meditating about it so you can give yourself some space to discover what it is underneath it. And so if you're feeling feelings that feel painful to you, like maybe fearful about the economy, or maybe you're fighting with your spouse, or maybe you've lost a loved one, or maybe you have a health concern, what you can also do is to sit down with yourself and to ask yourself, what is it that needs to be applied here? Do I need to apply forgiveness or compassion, maybe towards myself or someone else? Perhaps do I need to own my power in a way that I haven't been owning my power so that I'm not feeling like a victim? Do I need to apply love somewhere? But to ask yourself, what needs to be applied here? Because there's a message in that feeling for you. You can allow your emotions to be your teacher. There is an infinite wisdom within you that has your answers. There's an infinite wisdom within you that wants to lead you to peace and to well-being. You can also ask yourself, when you're feeling some sort of an uncomfortable emotion, what is it that I need to know here? What you ask the wisdom, what is it that I need to know here? Is there something that I need to do? And to listen, and then to honor that, because it's really here to teach you. And so let's just do that real quick. Can you think of something that is up in your life, some emotion that you're stuck in or that you're struggling with, or just something that keeps raising its head, something that you're feeling, an emotion that feels heavy or uncomfortable? And to just tell yourself what that is. What is the situation? What has happened or what is happening? And how are you feeling about it? And then to move into that wisdom that lives inside of you. I experience right in the center of my chest, the wisdom, your own intuition, the voice of your spirit. And to ask that, what is it that I need to know here? What is it that I need to know here? And to ask that wisdom within you, is there something that I need to do here? Is there something that I need to do? And to go ahead and write that down if you have something to write on and with you. What is it that I need to know here? And is there something I need to do? That's how you allow your emotions to be your teacher. That's how you allow your feelings and your emotions to move you along on your spiritual path. and in your own growth and your own unfolding. And then the second thing that I'm inviting you to do after you feel your feelings and discover what's underneath them, discover what they have to teach you, then when life feels heavy or stressful or emotionally taxing, or you feel off balance, then to do something that helps you create balance, to do something that helps you lighten up, that helps things lighten up, that helps you lighten your emotional load. And my suggestion to you is to play, to do something that is joyful, something that is fun, something that is lighthearted. Victor Shamas tells us that play is a sacred act. When we're playing, the essence of all creation flows freely through us. We are expressing our true nature and connecting with the very core of our existence. Nothing is more spiritual than that. So what if that's the spiritual practice that you do this week, is to play, to allow you to connect with that divine presence through play and through joy. When we play, we release our focus on the past, we release our focus on the future, and we release our focus on the stuff that's going on that feels heavy and taxing. In turn, we delve into the present moment and into the joy that is already inherent within us and the joy that is inherent and available in every single moment. And so play to you might mean something like going golfing or playing pickleball, or it might mean doing a craft or making some form of art where your focus is really on the creation and on the doing of it rather than on the result and how it turns out. You know, some years ago, I went to Asilomar, and there's a woman named Ginny who taught what was called kindergarten for adults. And one of the first things that we did, well, of course, we were sitting on mats on the floor like little kids. And then she gave us crayons and pages out of a coloring book, and you were to color them. But then she made us actually go outside of the lines to help break us out of thinking we have to do things so perfectly. And then when we were all done, we crumpled them up and threw them at each other all across the room. It was hysterical. It's playful. When we're playful like that, it brings us into the now moment and the joy of that now moment. It might look like laughing with friends. It might look like lots of different things. You probably all know the story about Norman Cousins, who in 1964, he was diagnosed with a progressive degenerative arthritis of the spine and connective tissues. At that time, there was not much the medical community could offer for autoimmune sufferers. And Norman was really struggling, suffering from excruciating pain that kept him from sleep. And it occurred to Norman to experiment with what he knew about the power of the mind to see if laughter could help him heal. He developed his own therapy program, including humor and daily laughter. I understand that one of the things that he did was watch funny movies every day. He discovered a cumulative decrease in the sedimentation rate, indicating a reduction in his inflammation levels. He also found that after 10 minutes of good laughter, he was able to enjoy 2 hours of quality sleep. Norman ended up joining the staff at the UCLA Medical School to pursue clinical research on the healing power of laughter. Laughing and having fun and being light is good for us mentally and emotionally. So playing might also mean playing board games or playing a musical instrument or dancing like no one's watching or just goofing around and being silly. It might even look like something at the spur of the moment you're out with a friend to race walk to the corner and see who can get to the corner the fastest. It's being childlike and playing like that. I know we have been a couple different times at Chris Braunschweiger's house and had snowball fights with stuffed soft fabric snowballs where there's 10 people and everyone's throwing snowballs as fast as they can at everybody else, and it's hysterical. I know that my girlfriend Colleen plays golf usually every other week, and she goes with her friend Kathy, and they don't keep score because it's all about the play. It's all about just having fun with what they're doing. And years ago, they had a friend, Karen, who used to play with them, and she was very serious, and she always kept score. But the thing is, sometimes Karen would hit a ball and she didn't really like where it went. So she would drop another ball so she got to hit over again. But when she counted her score, she never counted that extra ball that she dropped. And so for Kathy and Colleen, instead of getting frustrated, what they decided to do, unbeknownst to Karen, was bet $1 every time they played golf, how many balls she would drop so that she didn't have to raise her score. And, they did that so they could just keep having fun and keep playing and keep laughing and keeping it light. We can do that. I used to have, when I was in my late 20s, learning how to play, and I used to have tie-dye parties, and I used to have Play-Doh parties. We would create whole scenes out of Play-Doh, a bunch of different people creating ocean scenes and things like that. Playing is good for your health, emotionally and physically. Playing increases your cognition, and it lowers your stress level, and it helps you enjoy life more. One of the ministers at Centers for Spiritual Living said, "Spirit has created each one of us with an overflowing capacity for joy and balance and freedom. Play is a sacred activity, absolutely necessary for our complete expression in this life. Play connects us with a sense of wonder and creativity. Play is healing to the body, mind, and heart, connects us with others, and inspires our greater yet to be. When we play and when we are light, we come to life differently afterwards. We are more open and I think more loving and more creative. There's all sorts of things that happen when we play. And so my question to you is, what can you do this week to play? What can you do this week to experience more joy? What can you do this week to lighten up? And so I'm going to ask you again to close your eyes and to ask yourself, what can I do this week to play? What would I like to do that's playful? To ask yourself, what can I do to experience greater joy this week? What can I do to lighten things up? I'm going to go to the park and I'm going to dance in my living room. And I'm going to watch funny dog videos that make me laugh. And so my invitation to you this week is to welcome all of your feelings, to allow yourself to feel them, to be with them, so that in turn you can move through them to the other side, so that you don't get stuck in those feelings. Because that's how it works. We feel them to move through them. To take the time then to discover what is underneath those feelings. Is there a false belief that needs changing? Is there something you need to know or something you need to do? Discover what there is to learn, what it has to teach you. And ask yourself, how can I best love myself right now in the midst of this thing? How can I love myself the best? And play and do something fun and lighten up your load and laugh and be goofy and enjoy yourself. And as you do that, you'll be experiencing a greater sense of well-being. You'll be enjoying greater emotional balance in your life, enjoying your life and experiencing joy, and creating buoyancy for yourself. And so blessings to all of you on this path of self-discovery, discovering your own divine nature, the nature of joy and peace and love and goodness that lives inside of you. Blessings to you on this path of creating your best life. So blessings to you. And so I invite you to join me in an affirmative prayer. And so I turn my attention to that presence of God, that infinite one that is the good itself. For God and good are synonymous. And so I recognize that that presence of good is everywhere present, that it fills all of time and all of space with its beingness, that it is the great cause of this universe, that it is also the maintainer and sustainer of all. For this life of God is the life that is expressing itself. It is the life that is living itself within you and me and every single person in this world. And I know that this good seeks nothing more than to unfold in its fullness, to unfold in its allness, to fill our lives with an overflowing good, to fill our emotions and our thinking and our feeling nature with good, with peace and joy and love and creativity and wisdom and guidance. That is what is at the very center of our lives at every moment. And so today we turn to that presence that is around us and within us and allow it to guide us into paths of peace and beauty and wonderment and joy. I also speak this word for the people of Ukraine and the people of Russia and the people who are acting as soldiers, recognizing that the presence of Spirit is right with them, that it is guiding them, that is acting as a sense of a reality of protection and of insight and of oneness. That there is something that is awakening right now within the people, within the leaders, within Putin right now, the truth of oneness, the oneness of humanity, this one family. And I recognize that the power of love is greater than anything else in this entire world. and that love is within Putin, that it is within each and every single person that is making decisions about this war right now. The truth of love and the truth of oneness, the truth of goodness. That as I speak this word and as we accept this as the truth, it creates a greater space within this world for it to unfold itself. And so today, putting our faith and our trust in the good and putting our faith and our trust in love, we create greater space for it to unfold itself. And so we each recognize that love and that good in the Ukraine and in Russia, that it is present, that it is available, that it is active, that it is real, and that it is the ultimate truth. And so I rest in that truth. I place my faith in that truth, knowing that there is a quick and a speedy end to violence, a quick and an easy and a speedy end to war. But there is an awakening to oneness and to love. And so I release this prayer into the creative womb of this universe, knowing that it is unfolding itself now. And for that, I am grateful. And so I say, and invite you with me to say, and so it is. So I have a couple of invitations for you. One is our annual meeting, business meeting is this coming Saturday. It is going to be on Zoom Saturday at 10 a.m. We invite you to be there. We will send out another email this week in case you don't have the Zoom connection. I think it's this one, isn't it, Ray? I think it's this same connection, but we'll send out an email anyway. It's been on your invitations for the last few weeks. So we're going to talk about really what I want to talk about is what we want to do this coming year. You know, we're talking about doing some fundraisers and talking about having a concert. And I'd love to hear what you all would like to do for experiencing connection and having fun with each other. So let's talk about that. We're going to look at our finances from the last year and approve a budget for this year. So I hope you can join us. What else? I've told you this too. Stacey Robbins and her family are having a conference, half-day retreat on March 19th. If you would like information about that, since you don't have an insert with you, you can text me or call me or email me and I'll let you know. Also, next week, we are inviting you to bring gently used shoes to service because we're going to be at Skylinks next week. That Chris Braunschweiger is collecting shoes for Souls for Souls. What they do is they distribute shoes to people in countries who are other countries who are experiencing poverty, and they also use them to learn how to repair shoes and make shoes. So we invite you to bring shoes next week with you, and I hope to see you Saturday and then to see you next Sunday at Skylinks. So we're going to stay online and have a conversation, anybody that wants to. And if you need to go and don't want to stay, know that you are loved. Know that we are so grateful that you are a part of this family and so grateful that you are here with us today. And so if you're going to leave, have a lovely rest of your day. And if you're going to stay, I invite you to unmute yourselves and we can stay and have a conversation.